All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last live Friday Zoom. So let's get all of the team in here so we can say hello for this last live Friday. So Lena is here, and Sophia is here, Yukun, and Edna. Would you mind saying hello?
Hello, everyone. My name is Edna from Tanzania.
All right, and Ruth is there on the other laptop. All right, here we go. So today we are going to do 3 demos. The first demo we're going to do is looking at how to make blueberries red. The second demo is about how to eat glass without getting hurt. And the last demo is looking at everything that we need to know about food science we can learn from making pancakes. All right, so with that said, let's go over to Yukun for that first demo on making blueberries red.
Okay. So here we have 2 blenders. So we'll do one control, which is like we are not adding anything to that. And for the experimental one, we will add the baking soda first after we blend it. So we're gonna put the blueberries into the blender first. So now we can see that the color is like pretty purple. So we are gonna add the baking soda to the experimental one. We got too much blueberries. It's only turned blue on the top of them.
So that's because we added a base. And
Yeah, at a base and it turns like pretty black. And then we're gonna put it into the basket.
Kind of like pour out just a little bit of the blue into the beaker, and then you can actually see the blue. It's a dark blue, almost indigo is what I would say.
cobalt.
Yeah, compared to the control one, it's like much darker.
Yeah, those blueberries almost look reddish.
Yeah. Now we are gonna add the acid to it. It will transcribe again. Now the experimental one kind of like turns back to their original color compared to the control one.
So you know what is it in that blueberry that makes it turn colors?
Well, it's the pH sensitive pigments, which is isophytane, and it will turn blue while we adding base, and it will turn red when the solution is acidic.
So the cool thing about that is it turns back and forth. You can make it go back and forth between red and blue, and actually anthocyanins can make a really wide rainbow of colors depending on whether you're at pH 2 or 4 or 7 or 14. You can actually get a beautiful rainbow of colors from those. But essentially, yeah, we've gone from that deep cobalt back to sort of the blueberry, the original blueberry blue by adding base and then adding acid.
It's kind of foamy, Dr. Harris. Why is it foamy?
So the foam is actually a reaction between the baking soda and the acid. So the acid is releasing CO2 from the baking soda, and that is actually going to be very helpful for the demo that we're going to do at the end of this live Zoom. But for now, we're going to switch over to how to eat glass without getting hurt with Lena.
Hello, everybody. So we're gonna start with the recipe. So you already have that in the slides. So we're gonna make some glass for sugar. And so actually we have two stations here. So I started with sugar, which is a sucrose. And if you remember, granulate sugar, it's a disaccharide, glucose, fructose, and which means like two sugars stuck together. And then we have corn syrup, which is essentially made from starch, and it's like pure glucose. And we have water. I don't have water, but that is in the recipe. So this is almost ready, and you can see like some caramelization of the sugar, and because the color. So we have to reach a high temperature, and we're gonna reach the crystal. So sugar are able to have the glass transition. And what does it mean? That it just, if you increase the temperature, and it's a phenomenon when sugar pass from solid to liquid, and then has the property to have glass. So we have the final product here, and we added some special guests there. Just like, let me break it, this glass. You want this one? This one? Just like to break it? Yeah. Wow. Sorry for that. But yeah, so we make glass by sugar. That is incredible. So we started from this. Let me show you. So we are still boiling water and sugar, granulate sugar, and the corn syrup. Okay, we come back. So granulate sugar, water, and corn syrup. So we don't need to stir it, and we don't agitate the solution. So why? It's because the stirring or some stress that you are applying for the solution, and this is on a super saturated solution, and that will trigger the sugar to the crystallization. So we're gonna come back to the granulate sugar, the original one. So we don't want to do that. So have you tried to make caramel with sugar for desserts or something? So I tried once, and I put sugar, and I started to agitate with my spoon. So what happened? I had sugar. I wanted caramel, but I had sugar. So don't agitate your solution, because supersaturate solutions with sugar and water, they are unstable. And the sugar has the capacity to come back to the crystallization. And that is the job of this guy, the corn syrup, the glucose. So let's see, I think we are almost ready. Let me check the temperature. We have to reach 149 Celsius degrees for the glass transition. Okay. That one is boiling. You can show it. Yeah. Is that better? Yes. So do you know what's happened when we add sugar to the water? So sugar is gonna dissolve to the water. But what that happens, it's just because the molecules, they are surrounded about the water molecules. They just like kind of give me a hug, and then the glucose and the fructose, they separate, and then they are able to dissolve. So if we add this, the corn syrup, so we're gonna interrupt the fructose and the glucose to come back together, and then don't form the crystal. So that is the special job of this guy for candies. As you can see, then there's some ingredients for lollipops and candy, there's some products, and you will see sugar and corn syrup. All right, guys, so we are ready. Let's make some candies. This is really hot. It's like really hot, so make sure that you are using proper cheese and the proper gloves to heat.
Smells delicious.
Oh, yes. Oh, sugar. We're gonna wait for some minutes, and then we will have the lollipops, candies. All right. I hope you try at home, but just be careful eating sugar. Yeah, the smell is good. All right, I think we can switch for the next station.
All right, so we're going to talk about how everything, or almost everything, that I need to know about food science I learned from making pancakes. So we have here a pretty standard instant pancake mix. This is one that you only need to add water to. So it's got everything else in it. And so if we look at the ingredients here, and let's see if we can zoom in on those. If we look at the ingredients, we're going to have flour as our main ingredient, but then we have other materials that are designed to allow the pancake to brown, allow it to rise, and ultimately then we'll have the pancake recipe that we might have at home. So let me compare this label to one that we use at home. So here is a homemade pancake recipe that is made with flour, eggs. It's got some sugar in there, butter, some baking soda, baking powder, and a little bit of salt. Okay, so let's talk about what all these are doing in this food system. All right, here we go. So we're going to mix this instant mix with a little bit of water. Okay. Give me a spatula, please. Could be on the card. Thank you. All right, so here we go. So just mix. Okay, so what's happening is that we are trying to mix together all of the ingredients, but not too much. So with pancake recipes, you actually don't try to mix them too much. The reason is that most pancake recipes, if it doesn't say gluten-free, actually we need a little bit more mix here. If it doesn't say gluten-free, it probably has gluten. If you overstir the pancakes, you're going to get really tough, rubbery pancakes because you're going to form some gluten structure in there. All right. So now we're going to stir. I think that's about the right consistency. So we're going to stir that in very gently. So what I want you to notice is how we're getting a lot of bubbles forming. So those are CO2 bubbles, and they're actually formed by the same reaction that we had when we added baking soda and then vinegar to that blueberry smoothie. And so these bubbles are CO2, and that's what makes these pancakes rise. All right, so let me see if we can get a few of these onto the griddle. It's still a bit thin, but see if they get them to work. All right, now the reason that pancake batter can be a little bit lumpy when you start out is because as the bottom of this surface heats, this is conduction heating, as the bottom of this surface heats, then we actually are forming steam which passes through the pancake and cooks the inside. So on the inside, this is actually really kind of a form of steaming, as you might do with dumplings or some other types of foods. And now what we see is there are more bubbles. So the job of baking soda is to immediately form bubbles when we mix it with water. The job of baking powder is to form more bubbles when we don't think we're able to see it.
Yes, no, you can see it better now. There's not as much reflection.
Oh, okay. All right. So the job of this is to form more bubbles when it's heating. All right. So I think that these are about ready to turn over. And so when we turn them over, I have to wait just a second here. All right. Okay, so we can see that this pancake is brown relative to the one just beside it. And the reason is that it's undergone a Maillard browning reaction. So this reaction is something that occurs between sugars and proteins when the conditions are dry enough and when the temperature is high enough. So you need essentially high and dry conditions to make this work. But we use this all the time. This is how we toast. This is the browning of fried foods. This is when we roast coffee, when we roast chocolate. All of these things are Maillard browning type reactions. And the nice thing about them is not only can we see them, so these are large polymers that form, we can visibly see, we can literally smell those reactions as well. So this type of reaction, because it's driven by heat, is called a non-enzymatic browning reaction. We mentioned that we could smell those lollipops when the sugar mixture was cooking. That's because they're also forming small molecules that we can smell. So that is a pure sugar type of reaction. We call that caramelization. This is a sugar protein reaction. We call this Maillard browning. So let's see if we can get a little bit more of a color differential on this one. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. So I'm going to let the last one go a little bit farther so that we're able to see a little bit more of the color change. All right, so we'll let that last one go just a few more seconds and flip that one over as well. All right, so you can see that this reaction will occur to a greater and greater degree as we allow this heat-based protein and sugar interaction to happen. So the first one is kind of light, and you can think of this very much like light roast coffee, right? And then we have this one slightly darker, like medium roast coffee. If we keep going with this reaction, we can have darker and darker roasts of coffee. And also pancakes that have more and more of this Maillard browning type of a color reaction. So pancakes are interesting because they show us this acid-base reaction. That's what makes them rise slightly. They have this Maillard browning reaction, which is what allows them to demonstrate this wonderful color and the aroma that we smell on a Saturday morning at our house anyway, when we're making pancakes for everybody. The other ingredients in these pancakes actually provide structure. So when we have things like, there you go, you can see the other side of this. That one's a little bit lighter. Yeah. So we now have a structure where we first had just this liquidy material. So we now have this structure, and this is really driven by this interaction of proteins with this starch matrix. So there's mostly starch here, a lot of flour, but we always have some protein in here, and that helps glue or bind everything together. So that is part of the reason I say that everything we need to know about food science, we learn from making pancakes, because we have the engineering, we have this heated surface that conductively heats. We have chemistry, where we have acid-base reactions, Maillard browning reactions occurring, and the microbiology in these pancakes. Very often, especially in homemade recipes, you're using buttermilk, something that is fermented in order to produce the acid that then gives you that acid-base reaction with baking soda and baking powder. So lots of uses for these pancakes. So the last use that I wanted to mention here is that of course they have very good aerodynamics. So on a Saturday morning, you know, you can actually get your friends to stand across the kitchen and just throw these pancakes at them. And so they make really, really good Frisbees. All right. So we hope that you've enjoyed this slightly less well-lighted Friday live Zoom. So we've talked a little bit about the color change that we get with anthocyanins, how we can shift back and forth across a number of different colors just based on changes in pH. We've talked about how to eat glass without getting hurt. And of course, the key is eat edible glass. And we can make edible glass with sugar, with just pure sugar, and then entrap things in there like crickets, or like we do with things like Jolly Ranchers, flavor. And lastly, the idea of making these pancakes and showing how so many different areas of food science can be encompassed in this one simple food. And by the way, pancakes, you may recognize pancakes as an example of a flat bread. Flatbreads are one of the most ancient and one of the most popular foods all around the world. If you love tortillas or injera, or if you love naan, then these are all examples of flatbreads, and they're easy to make because you just need a hot surface and some type of batter. And so pancakes are just another example of these wonderful flatbreads that have been human favorites, really, for thousands of years. All right, well, we wanted to thank you all for watching the Friday live Zooms, and I just wanted to make sure that we thank the team that has made these live Zooms possible. So, Sophia, thank you for your work on camera and editing the videos. Lena and Yukun, thank you for your work in producing parts of this segment. Ruth, thank you for running the Zoom portion of this, and Edna, thank you for being here today. We're so glad to have you. All right, well, we will see you for the final exam. So have a good weekend, everybody, and we hope that you've enjoyed this presentation. See you later.